Okie dokie, kiddos. We're back. It's another speaker breakdown. It's been a little while because for my sanity, I had to chill out. So here's the thing. It's time to put MIT to the test. So there's this video called How to Speak by Patrick Winston. And Mr. Winston, I believe, is an instructor at MIT. So they must be doing something right, huh? So let's find out. Let's see what we got here. Okay, here we go.
The Uniform Code of Military Justice specifies court-martial for any officer who sends a soldier into battle without a weapon.
I like this because this is a public speaking class and he starts with this. So he's starting with that uncertainty, like where are you going with this? So this is a good opening.
There ought to be a similar protection for students because students shouldn't go out into life without an ability to communicate.
Bravo!
Because
bravo, good sir.
Life will be determined largely by your ability to speak, your ability to write.
I don't know where to put my screen so I don't get in this guy's way.
In that order. You'll see some.
I agree.
But then it occurred to me, this point came to me suddenly a few decades ago when I was skiing at Sun Valley. I had heard that it was Celebrity Weekend, and one of the celebrities was
Maybe bring the energy up a little bit. I mean, you look like you kind of don't want to be there, you know, and I know you got a chilled out style and that's fine, but it's sort of like, if you're going to present like this the whole way, very quickly, it's going to get really hard to listen to you because you're going to be talking like this the whole time.
Was Mary Lou Retton, famous Olympic gymnast, perfect tens in the vault. And I heard that she was a novice at skiing. So when the opportune moment arrived, I looked over on the novice slope and saw this young woman who, when she became unbalanced, went like that.
So, I mean, I like the story. I wouldn't, you know, I'd appreciate maybe getting to the point a little faster. I don't know what this is about yet. I don't know what this has to do with anything. So you're engaging me, but we're kind of falling into the details a little bit, sir. Mr. Winston.
And I said, that's got to be her. That must be the gymnast.
That was him trying to do a joke. I 100% guarantee that was a joke that bombed. And I bet you anything, he says the same joke all the time because you're probably locked in. I bet you anything, you deliver this exact same thing every year. I bet you anything because it seems like you're very comfortable with it, but it just seems like something that you do all the time.
But then it occurred to me, I'm a much better skier than she is, and she's an Olympic athlete, not only an ordinary Olympic athlete, an outstanding one.
Okay.
And I was a better skier because I had the K and I had the P and all she had was the T.
So here's something he's done. He is giving you a visual that if you saw it by itself would not mean anything. So now we have to listen to the speaker. And this is a really good strategy. This is a really good strategy for you, dear learner. Okay, when you're making visuals, if you put all the information on your slides or your chalkboard or whatever, why should they listen to you? Therefore, if you want to make visuals, like if you want to make a good slide deck that kind of engages people, that is effective, make a slide that instead of answering the questions, begs the question. Make a slide that I can look at and be like, okay, what does that mean? I think I get it, but what does it mean? Which means now you have to listen to me. So by doing this, you actually kind of enhance attention, enhance engagement by making slides that on their own don't make sense. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, but what if if my slides are my leave behind? Or what if it's a very technical presentation? If those are your questions, post them in the chat and I'll make a video about that specifically because I don't want to go on a tangent. We're too busy watching Mr. Winston. So far, so good. Maybe a little more energy, maybe kind of get to the point a little faster.
So you can get a lot better than people who may have inherent talents if you have the right amount of knowledge. So that's what my objective is today. And here's my promise. Today you will see some examples of what you can put in your
I'm just getting bored
of speaking techniques. And it will be the case that some one of those examples, some heuristic, some technique, maybe only one, will be the one that gets you the job. And so this is a very nonlinear process. You never know when it's going to happen. But that is my promise. By the end of the next 60 minutes, you'll have been exposed to a lot of ideas, some of which you'll incorporate into your own repertoire.
So, I mean, I don't mind the concept of repeating, kind of re-emphasizing your point, but this is way too many details to say you're going to find something useful. Will it all work? No. Will some of it work for each person? Yes. Will the same work for everyone? No. That's something you could have just done, much faster, sir. Also, it'd be nice to have some sort of interaction, no?
And they will ensure that you get the maximum opportunity to have your ideas valued and accepted by the people you speak with. Now, in order to do that,
yeah,
we have to have a rule of engagement.
Okay, so that's a really good callback. That's a really good callback. That's a really good callback to rules of engagement, to his initial opening. By the way, you will have noticed something, and you're going to watch this as more. He was super nervous. Like, that's why he was like this the whole time. Now, as he's getting more comfortable, and this happens to everyone after the first minute or two, that you can't just be in a fight or flight kind of situation for very long. By its definition, fight or flight is very short term. He's going to stop doing this so much. You're going to see it. He's going to stop doing it so much. He's already doing it less, and he's going to do it less and less as the presentation goes on. But also another thing, the reason I know he's super nervous is because he's out of breath, because his heart's palpitating so much. That's going to go away too, as like the adrenaline from the fight or flight drops down. Okay.
No laptops, no cell phones.
Yep.
So if you could close those, I'll start up as soon as you're done.
So the waiting.
That's why that is a rule of engagement.
Oh no! You don't have to explain why not being on your phone or your computer is. Oh God, is he gonna? I bet she's gonna go like 10 minutes talking about this.
And the answer is,
everyone gets it.
We have one language processor, and if your language processor is engaged, could you shut the laptop, please?
Yeah, call him out.
If your language processor is engaged, browsing the web or reading your email, you're distracted. And worse yet, you distract all of the people around you. Studies have shown that. And worse yet, if I see an open laptop somewhere back there or up here, it drives me nuts, and I do a worse job.
I don't know if you need to get into this video is 2019. Like, in 2019, do you really have to explain why you shouldn't have your laptops going in class, right? But here's the thing. Instead of just saying why you shouldn't have your laptop, give them a reason to not have their laptop beyond just you don't like it and it's disrespectful and it's distracting. What I mean by that is this is supposed to be a public speaking class, and no one has spoken yet except you. And I get you're starting out your class, sir. I get that. But saying something like, today you're going to be talking to each other, close your things, take out a pen and paper, and I want you to do something for me. Like, give them interaction. They don't necessarily have to speak. Get them to do something, and then say, this is why we don't need this is why you can't use your laptops. Potentially. You're talking about communication. But how much communication is nonverbal, sir? You look like you don't even want to be there. That could be your nervousness, that could be your natural personality. But this is the thing. People don't learn what you tell them to learn. People learn what they observe. Right? When we're growing up, our evolutionary process is we learn through observation. That saying, do as I say, not as I do, that never works. Because you can't help but be influenced by what you see. So if you are the teacher and you cannot be dynamic as a public speaking coach, you cannot give me dynamic things to do in case you're kind of feeling low energy, except lecture, and you're lecturing at a level that's so low the whole time with a face that looks like you don't want to be there. I mean, after a while, that's going to have an impact. I'm not saying that that's not your personality, but it's got to change a little bit, right? It's got to change a little bit. You got to give me something dynamic to look at. There's a reason why people get bored in class and don't get bored in YouTube, right? I will learn things on YouTube and be engaged, but I'll learn this. But the same thing in class is terrible. Why? Because of the delivery. Therefore, the way you deliver, sir, you got to set the example before teaching the lesson.
First thing to talk about, of course, is how to start.
Yeah, how do you start? I think you should reference your opening. Reference your opening. Okay.
is to start a talk with a joke.
No. I hope he's saying these are the things you shouldn't do.
I don't recommend it.
Good. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And the reason is that in the beginning of a talk, people are still putting their laptops away.
No, that's not the
They're becoming
reason.
adjusted to your speaking parameters, to your
Nope.
vocal
Nope.
parameters.
Vocal parameters? Come on, dude. Okay, no, here's why you don't start with a joke. Number one, most of us aren't naturally funny. Number two, it's extra hard to be funny when you're nervous, right? Number three, you never know what people's comfort level is with jokes, right? But the biggest reason is because it's hard to be funny when you're nervous and you're trying to remember what to say. And if you deliver a joke and you're not sure, like if you haven't practiced it and you're really nervous, it's gonna bomb. That's why. Not why people are still coming in. Because here's the thing, he's his only experiences as a lecturer. So the fact is like people are still coming in and talking, so don't start with a joke, implies that someone has not introduced you, that it's not, people don't expect to stop talking and watch. So if you're doing a presentation in class, if you've just been introduced as a keynote speaker, if you're doing a sales meeting, if you're doing a UX teaching, people have already stopped and the mic has been passed on to you. So they're already quiet. So saying that implies is not realistic to most situations. It's only realistic to your personal situation as a lecturer who tries to start before people have shut up. Right? Right?
Ready for a joke. So it doesn't work very well. They usually fall flat.
Yep. Not for the reasons you said, though.
To start with empowerment promise.
An empowerment promise. I have a feeling.
You want to tell people what they're going to know at the end of the hour that they didn't know at the beginning of the hour.
Yeah.
It's the empowerment promise. It's the reason for being here.
But that is not what you did, is it, sir? No, the very thing you did, you started off really well. For a good opening first has to create curiosity and attention. Once you got that, then you can do your empowerment promise. But here's the other thing. Does that apply to every speaking situation? Maybe. I mean, I'm trying to think of something like an empowerment promise. By the end of this session, you're going to be able to do this, and you wouldn't have known this before. That's cool. That's fine. But that's not the opening. That's not the first thing you say. That can be within the context of your opening. I'm going to let him explain more. Explain. Tell me.
What would be an example? Oh, I see. At the end of this 60 minutes, you will know things about speaking you don't know now, and something among those things you know will make a difference in your life. Yeah, that's an empowerment promise. So that's about.
Yeah, but that's not what you did. You started with an opening and then you went to it.
Best way to start. So now that I've
already, and this is the problem, gang. This is the problem all the time. I'm sorry. This is the problem all the time. Too many people are teaching you things that they do not do, or they're teaching you only aspects of good communication. You should have said, an empowerment promise after you get people's attention, but how do you get people's attention? I don't mind that empowerment promise. By the end of this thing, you're going to learn some stuff. But here's the other thing. Sure, fine. It took you 5 minutes to give me your empowerment promise, right? Shouldn't there be a formula for that? Why not have an opening that creates curiosity? The rules of engagement in war. Cool. And then give me a formula for how to have an empowerment promise. So saying something like this, by the end of this workshop, you'll be able to A, B, and C. Apply rules. When it's super general, you'll be able to apply ideas to communication that you didn't previously know. Will I? Sure, maybe. But instead, why not give me specifics? This is the problem with soft skills. This is the reason why people don't respect soft skills, because there's nothing ever specific. So why say, by the end of this workshop, I can tell you that you will have 3 strategies to create an opening. You'll be able to learn 2 ways to transition. You'll be able to learn 1 way to get people's attention. You'll know 4 things. Like, that is an empowerment promise. That is a specific learning outcome, not a general promise. General promises are how like self-help people and how like multi-level marketing people convince people that they're going to learn something when they actually learn nothing. So I agree with you, but you only got half the picture, sir.
about how to start. What I want to do is give you some samples
Oh,
of heuristics that are always on my mind when I give a talk.
the samples of the heuristics that, what, I don't even know what that means. Are you just saying examples of an opening?
And the first of these heuristics is that it's a good idea to cycle on the subject.
I think he's just started, that's just saying like repeat something. Maybe, I don't know.
Go around it again, go around it again.
Repetition.
Some people say, tell them what you want to tell them.
Tell them what you just told them.
And then tell them a third time, as if people weren't intelligent. But the point is, the reason is, well, there are many reasons, one of which is at any given moment, about 20% of you will be fogged out no matter what the lecture is.
Where did that come
So
from?
if you want to ensure that the probability that everybody gets it is high, you need to say it 3 times.
3 times, or just say it as much as you can? Why 3? Where did the 20% come from? I'll be honest with you. Here's actually a real reason why, a real like science-backed reason why you should repeat yourself, is because short-term and long-term memory. Short-term memory, 7 to 20 seconds. You could, it kind of varies when you look at the research, and you can hold about 7 units of information. But just because you can hold 7 units of information for 17 to 20 seconds doesn't mean that all that information is going to go into long-term memory. Therefore, the more you repeat those units of information, the greater the likelihood that something is going to go from short-term memory to long-term memory. So repeating it 3 times may work, but it may not. Ask yourselves this: the last time you watched a TED Talk or talks at Google, whatever, you usually only remember like 1 or 2 things. It's not necessarily like what they repeated. It's just whatever made in long-term memory. So here's a better heuristic. Depending on the length of your presentation, if your presentation is like 5 minutes long, you can repeat something 3 times. That might be enough. But if you're speaking for 20 minutes or an hour, have 2 or 3 core messages and try and repeat those every time you change your slide, or every 4 or 5 slides. If you have an agenda, every time you go to a new part of the agenda, you do a recap. And if your agenda has 10 bullets, you recap 10 times. What do we know so far? Boom, deliver. So what do we know so far? Boom. So what do we learn? Boom. At every point. Repetition, circling the problem, good. 3 times, maybe. It depends on the context. The underlying principle is try to reiterate your core message as often as possible, depending on the length of the presentation. So 3 is not a magic number, and it doesn't make it any more effective than 5, especially if you're speaking more than 5 minutes. Okay, let's end it there. Just got a deep run. Sir, so far, I give you 6 out of 10. You got some good points. Not necessarily the best reasoning behind your points. I'm hoping we're going to see some examples. Let's find out later. Thanks for joining me for this speaker breakdown. We're going to see Mr. Winston again. This might be like a 10-part series. We'll see. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.